right, it looks like somebody has joined. All right, so we're continuing on with Sri Sharda Devi and her divine play, Swami Chaitanananda's book on the Divine Mother. And we're looking at the idea of God as mother. And so Sri Sharda Devi, according to many, is God incarnated as mother. And that was her practice, as most of us know, just in her life, was to make everybody her child and to just share that mother heart with everyone. And Vivekananda was quite adamant that the West needed a good dose of God as mother, that we had suffered under the tyranny of God as father for long enough, and that we needed a gentler hand for a while. And so we're in the chapter called Radu, and as you know, that's mother took her on as her daughter when Radu's mother got a little bit crazy and couldn't take care of her child with any reliable amount of attention. And so Radu became mother's daughter. And Sri Ramakrishna said that that happened because Radu would help keep mother's mind on the earthly plane. And we talked a little bit about how the nature of the mind of an incarnation is such that they are by nature pure and by nature know their identity as being one with the divine. And so their mind naturally wants to hang out in the samadhi regions, in the regions of bliss. And in order to stay down in the body and identified with the body, it's required that some level of impurity in the mind is there. There has to be some sense of me and mine, or some sense of I, in order for us to hold on to a body. And for most of us, that's no problem at all. There's plenty of me and mine there to keep us established in the body. But for these great incarnations, there wasn't. And so they had to come up and devise ways of staying at this level of consciousness so that we could learn from them. Otherwise, the master and mother would just be in samadhi, in that state of kind of ecstatic state all the time, and not really be able to identify with us. We wouldn't understand them, and we wouldn't get any real understanding of the depth of the divine. So Mother starts tonight by saying Manmata was a carefree person. And one day at the Udbodhan house, Manmata went out and Radu was restless for him. Holy Mother expressed her agony to a woman disciple. Look at the master's play. My mother's family was so noble, but look at my present companions. This one, meaning Shurabala, is totally mad. That one, Nalini, is on the verge of insanity. And now look at that one, Radu, my child. I wonder at this person I raised. She is completely silly. She is standing on the porch, holding onto the railing, eagerly waiting for her husband to return. There you hear some music in a house of ill repute. Radu is afraid that Manmata may enter that place. Day and night she watches him. What attachment. I never dreamt that she would be so attached. I'm always surprised to read these things. I just, in Mother and Thakur, it's actually one of the real reasons that really Mother and Thakur and Vivekananda that really were able to reach me because of this familiarity with life on this planet, the way things are. And they're the way that they just deal with it so matter-of-factly, that there's not any of this baggage, mental baggage around this. So her daughter, deeply attached to her husband, that she's standing on the front porch, waiting for him, nervous that he might stop at the house of ill repute, which apparently is close enough to hear the music coming from it. And she won't come in and take her eyes off of the sidewalk for fear that her husband's going to cheat on her. And Mother's just standing there shaking her head, thinking, how in the world did I ever get associated with this group of crazy people? Which really brings to mind, because you think, well, that's not so crazy. She loves her husband. She's watching out for him. But, from that perspective, the realized perspective, that it is a silliness for our attachments that we have for these things that we're guaranteed to lose. You know, that's the thing, how we clutch on to all of these things in this finite world that we're guaranteed to lose. We're going to lose our house, we're going to lose our bodies, we're going to lose our friends, we're going to lose our children, our parents, our grandparents. You know, that's the harsh reality, seemingly harsh anyway, from our current perspective, of this world. That, you know, renunciation is not a choice. You either give it up willingly or it's taken from your dead hands. Just to be frank, you know, you don't get to keep anything here. And so from Holy Mother's perspective, this is an insanity. This is an act of craziness to be so attached to things. And so we know from the teachings that the solution is to look through the things at the reality behind them and understand that it is the divine qualities that you love in the people that you love. And it's the divine qualities that are reflected to you, back to you in the objects that you like or that you're attracted to. And we were just talking this morning in our class here at Leisure World that you know, that's part of our discernment, part of our exercise in living here and dealing with all these things, is to look at the things that we desire long enough to find the name of God that we're really attracted to in that object, and to take that object apart and really study that object until you can understand that the thing that you want is not related to the object, that the thing that you want is being reflected in that object in some way that is reminding you of the divine quality of the self that you've forgotten because it's so quiet and so at peace within. It doesn't grab our attention back from the mind or back from this ever-changing, unrepeating world that we live in. So when you read that, at first you think, oh, that's not so bad, Mother, that's not that crazy. But then when you think of it in her perspective, you understand, yes, it is that crazy. And for us to get our minds to understand that our attachments, our clinging, and our looking for fulfillment in this world does not make any sense because of the fact that we're here for just a very short time. Now, when you're up until you're 45, that doesn't occur to you. It seems like life is going to go on forever. But when you start hitting that midlife place, you know, which 45 is a bit past it, but that was when it first occurred to me that I had fewer years ahead of me than I had behind me. And that changed my perspective on life significantly. And I understood something about older folks that I hadn't really understood before that time in my life, about why old folks always seem to dwell so much in the past. And you come to realize that that's because that's where your life is, you know. The life in front, that conversation I had with Prabhutananda when he turned 80, and I was asking him on the way back from, I tell this story so many times, but I was asking him on the way back from Olima, Maharaj, what's it like to be 80? And, you know, he was curious about the question. And I told him, I said, well, you know, you really can't reliably plan ahead more than 5 years. What's it like to be 80 years old where you can't really plan beyond that? Are you scared? Does it make you nervous? And of course, you know, his answer was just so perfect. He said being 80 is the same as being 20 from that perspective. He said, I have never been under the delusion that I was guaranteed even one more day. And he said, in reality, none of us is promised even one more minute, let alone another day. You know, I look at the two things that I think of in that regard, like my friend Lalita having that terrible stroke, that took less than 10 seconds. You know, her life changed in 10 seconds from being totally self-actualized, capable, you know, self-empowered woman to laying in a bed and not being able to button your own shirt. 10 seconds. The day that I broke my leg, you know, in the temple, that piano fell over on my leg and broke my leg, that took 3 seconds. So from that took 3 seconds to being perfectly healthy young guy, to being bedridden for 6 months, you know, because I broke both of the bones in my leg. and actually had them pushed out the front of my shin. So it was a good job. I did a great job at breaking my leg. But 3 seconds passed, and how much more careful we would be about life and about the way that we live if we lived with an understanding of that. And it may even help us find ourselves, find the real nature of ourselves. Because with that in mind, and you'll see that it's a very important point, because Ramakrishna, all through the gospel, is reminding us of the temporary nature of the world, that nothing here is lasting. And so we use that truth to pry our white-knuckled grasp off of all the things that we love, all the things that we would want to hold on to. And that attachment's what causes us suffering. It's what causes us our pain in this world. And so Mother here is demonstrating a very important point to us about how unnatural that is for us to do, to be attached to things, to hold on to things that are temporary as if they're going to last forever. But most of the time we do it because we just don't know what else to do, right? The body is all we see. And we think of ourselves as a body, so we don't really have any notion of anything beyond that. And it doesn't really occur to us. And even when we come into spiritual life, it seems to be a matter of belief, this notion of being soul, of being self, not being the material, of being one without a second. And so this is the importance of doing your practice with a great deal of earnestness and sincerity, because through that practice, that which you have to imagine when you are living in your attached mind becomes obvious to you in the pure mind, in the silent mind. That first time that you're able to silence the mind for even a split second, you'll have an experience of eternity. You'll understand the nature of eternity. That eternity doesn't mean a long time. That eternity actually means outside of time, meaning that time has nothing to do with you. And you come to know that because as soon as the mind stills, you realize that time disappears. And from that, you understand that the nature of time is really just the rate of change. And what is the rate of change? It's how the number of thoughts passing through the mind determines your experience of time. When there's nothing passing through the mind, when it's just silence, there's literally no time. You'll sit there and meditate, and you'll be done in what seems like 2 minutes, and you look at your watch and it's been 2 or 3 hours. So your experience of time disappears. And also the notion of time. It's just not a part of our perspective. So time, space, and causation, all three of those belong to mind. They don't belong to an external world that we imagine that we are in, but that they are qualities, tools of mind for projecting this world, for reflecting this world, reflecting the self in mind. And that the disturbance of mind is caused by those two things that we talk about, me and mine. That having a thought of me and mine in the mind is disturbing because it's unnatural, which is why Mother is saying it's crazy. It is unnatural to have thoughts of me and mine when you are one without a second, when you are an immortal self, when you are ever free and ever pure. But as long as we cling to those ideas like that, we can't recognize, we can't experience the truth of ourself. And so this is why Mother is making such an adamant point here about something that we would defend and would think is a noble thing, to love your husband, to want to cling to your partner. But we find in truth that attachment is insanity. It doesn't make sense for us to go that direction. Another day in Udbodhan house, Radu angrily said to the mother, "What do you know? Can you comprehend the importance of a husband?" At this, the mother replied with a laugh, "You are right. My husband was a naked sannyasi." You get even her, even Mother's sense of humor there. Oh yeah, you're right. I don't know the importance of a husband. Mine was just a naked sannyasa and a naked sadhu. Holy Mother told Radu on another occasion, You've been nursed by a lioness, and you are acting like a vixen. I have brought you up with such care, and you have not imbibed any part of my virtues. You have gotten everything from your mother. Radu became angry, pulled down her veil, and turned her head away. Holy Mother laughed and said, you cannot get along without me, and now you are hiding your face from me. Wow. So if Mother's nothing else, she's honest. Very direct. Radu returned from school at 4 o'clock. This is according to Sushila Majumdar's recorded some of Radu's misbehaviors in his reminiscences. And so Sushila in his reminiscences says, Radu returned from school at 4 o'clock. When she finished her refreshment, the mother told her, Radu, come here. I shall braid your hair. No, I shall do it myself, said Radu. As the mother took a comb to braid her hair, Radu took the comb and began to hit the mother with it. The mother remarked, mad girl, what shall I do with you? Meanwhile, Yogan Ma came in, and seeing Radu hitting the mother, she said, what is this? Why should Radu hit our mother? I'll punish her. Still Radu continued to hit the mother. Then the mother said, now I shall call Sharat. Right? Sharadananda, that Swami that was always there. Mother said, now I shall call Sharat. I can't bear the pain anymore. When Yogan Ma informed Sharadananda, he immediately came out from his room and shouted from downstairs, Radu, don't you hit the mother. Hearing his voice, Radu stopped and moved away from her. Kushum then braided Radu's hair. Mother was not free from the chaos of family life. You see, she didn't develop her virtues in a vacuum. You know, she practiced these virtues and learned these virtues, learned patience, learned to anticipate people's needs, decided to be a servant and to give up her own needs and to give up her own nature, and chose to see the whole world, not just her family, but chose to see the entire world as being her dependence and to make her life about that service. It's really quite amazing.
But
Between
Swamiji,
19, yes.
excuse me, Swamiji, for Radhu to come in this role in the divine play, she must have done some good deeds. Some, I wouldn't say all. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean, in a funny way, we could say that. But in another way, I'm going to remind you that karma, we don't use karma to describe a current situation. That's not how we use karma, right? You can do that for yourself. It's all right to say that my life, my conditions is according to my karma. But we don't say that about others. One, because there's no way that you could know that. We have no idea what people's karma is. And the other reason is because we do not have an accurate measure of karma. We love wealth, and so we think people who are rich have good karma, when in fact that wealth could be the whole reason that they're not going to realize God, and it's the worst karma you could possibly have. It's like, and so we don't have those tools. Whatever we're attached to, if we get those things, we think we've got good karma. Those things that we're not attached to or that we have aversions to, if we get them, then we think, oh my God, I've got bad karma. So we can't judge karma like that. And so it's not a good practice. And the reason we don't do other people's karmas or think about it that way is that it reduces our compassion. We think, oh, they get what they deserve. And, that doesn't at all breed that empathy and that compassion. So karma is there not for those reasons, but karma is there to remind you that you are in charge of your destiny. If you're using karma in such a way that you're a victim of that karma, then you've not understood karma. Karma is meant to empower you and to give you the knowledge and the responsibility to take hold of the reins of your destiny and to build the future using this moment, through being virtuous. Things are called virtues because they create good karma, as it were, or release you from karma, which is even better. Because that's a misunderstanding most Westerners have, that we want good karma. But Vivekananda is very clear that we don't want any karma at all. You don't want good karma or bad karma. you want the perfect balance in your life. And so at that perfect balance, we're free. He says good karma is like chains made out of gold. You're still in chains. You're still bound, even though they're pretty. But no karma is to be free.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, surely. Between 1911 and 1917, Radu developed neurasthenia and from time to time suffered from fits of hysteria. One evening in the Udbodhan house, Holy Mother placed a poultice on Radu's abdomen. When the devotee asked, "What happened to Radu?" Mother replied, "Radu has been attacked by the same pain. I wonder where this horrible pain came from. So many doctors are attending her, and I am promising offerings to so many deities, but to no avail." All right. So Mother's trying everything to help Radu get rid of this pain.
So Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes.
So this kind of took me by surprise. So it's okay to offer to deities and pray with like offerings and all for wishes to come true? Like part of me says not. Okay, that that will be done and give me the strength to bear it.
Yes. That's the more what non-judgmental word could I say? That's the experienced view. That's a view of knowledge. For a bhakti, for a pure bhakti, sure, absolutely. You can ask your mom for anything for Christmas that you want. Are you going to get that new Ferrari for Christmas? Probably not. But you're welcome to ask her, and you're welcome to complain to her when it doesn't come. So in time, you'll stop asking for Ferraris. And in time, you'll start realizing that you don't know what's best to ask for. And that mother's love is great enough to get you a gift that you will really appreciate. So yes, so it's not a matter of allowed or not. It's a matter of growth, of internal acceptance, a practice of acceptance, a practice of non-resistance, that we accept what comes and we pray for that acceptance and pray for that ability to see, and so like now I used to write in letters, at the end, I used to write something like, "May Mother bless you." Now when I write, and this just started about a month ago, because it occurred to me, I was like, what do I know about Mother blessing? I said, "May you always know that you are blessed." And so a very different take on things. It's like our definition of blessed may not match the condition of our life, but our life may be very blessed. We may be going through some very difficult things, but in doing that, we're being prepared for freedom. We're being prepared to see life in a very different perspective. And so instead of praying for particular things, just pray that we always find that we are blessed, that we do have. There's always something to be thankful for. There's always something to be grateful for, and to go forward in that way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So yes, ask. If you want it, be honest and ask for it. And if you're not sure that you should want it, say that. Say, I'm not sure that I should have this car, but I really want it. And it's through that kind of work that we actually grow through those things, grow past those things. I always encourage a very healthy conversation with the divine. And that includes standing on the table and screaming at times in anger, when you don't get what you want, or when God doesn't make sense and your life isn't pleasant. That kind of reaction, that kind of working, that really helps. It gives us a way of processing. It gives us a way of understanding and accepting without having to forfeit our faith or our knowledge of the divine. There'll come a time when all of this seems kind of childish to us as we walk with the beloved, and as our life becomes more interior. This is one of the obvious reasons of why it's important to do spiritual practice, is because the inner world becomes bigger and brighter than the external world. And that buffers you from being thrown all over the place by the conditions and circumstances of life. Again, Swami Prabhupada, he was always the same person, no moods. He wasn't one day up and one day down. He was always just straight and steady, always. And that's someone who lives in their interior space. Why is it's not charging? They live in an interior space. And I've got to investigate here real quick. I'm sorry. Now I don't know how to tell if it's charging. Okay. All right, just a second. All right. Sorry about that. A few little hiccups. All right. Let's continue on here. So in spite of her illness in 1910 to 1911, Radu went on pilgrimage with the mother to South India and in 1912 to Varanasi. On the 8th of May, 1913, Holy Mother was in Jairambati. Radu was indisposed, laid up with fever and pain. Shurabala began to scold Holy Mother, saying, "You are about to kill my daughter with medicines." When she continued her verbal abuse, Holy Mother called her brother Bharata, who chased Shurabala out of the house. Holy Mother could bear it no longer and lamented, "I was married to one who never addressed me as Tui," meaning, of course, most of you know, in Bengali, Tui is that informal, you would call your good friend that, or your someone that you didn't, it's a way of speaking casually without showing a proper respect. And so the master always was very, very, very careful about showing respect to Sri Sharada, his wife. This is a great lesson. Of course, I'm looking at all women here, but for you husbands that are listening to the recording, Ramakrishna never even once referred to his wife in a casual way. He always saw the Divine Mother in her and respected her as such. And so this is what Holy Mother is saying here. I was married to one who never addressed me in an informal way. And look at Radhu's mother, how she abuses me day and night. I do not know what sin I committed to deserve all this. Perhaps I worshipped Shiva with a thorny bell leaf, and that thorn has now become Radhu's mother. In January of 1918, Holy Mother was in Jairambati when she became very ill. Swami Sharadananda traveled with Dr. Kanjalil, Dr. Satish Chakrabarti, Yoganma, Golapma, and Sharala, later Bharati Prana, to Jairambati to look after her. In a short time, she felt better, and Sharadananda and the doctors returned to Kolkata. Holy Mother then went to Kolkata. There, her fever relapsed and her condition became critical. At that time, Radu suddenly left for her husband's house. She said to the mother, "You have many devotees to look after you, but who else do I have except my husband?" Holy Mother told her disciples about this incident and said, "The way Radu cut the bond of my attachment yesterday and left for her husband's house worried me. I thought perhaps that the master does not want me to live any longer. My doting on Radu is nothing but a form of Maya, which I am holding in order to function." So she's drawing attention to that truth we mentioned earlier, that Radu was there as given by the master. The master told her that she was given to Holy Mother to keep Holy Mother on this plane. And so mother naturally, with Radu just detaching herself and running off when Holy Mother needed her, she assumed, well, maybe this sickness is it for me. Maybe I don't have to be attached to this world anymore. Maybe it's time for me to go home. Human beings judge others according to their own understanding. They do not have the insight to evaluate the behavior of divine beings. Now and then, Holy Mother's disciples and devotees complained to her about her attachment to Radu. Sharala recalled, one afternoon, the mother was talking on various topics. She said, people think that I worry about Radu and that I am strongly attached to her. But they do not know that without this attachment, my body would not have been preserved after the Master's death. He himself kept the body alive through Radu for the sake of his work. When my mind withdraws from her, I shall give up the body. In 1918, the mother was in bed with a high fever in Kolkata ashrama. Yoganma and Sharat Maharaj were attending her. Even seeing her serious condition, Ratu left for her husband's home. The mother did not want her to go. Then the mother lamented to Yoganma, look, Yogan, Ratu has left, abandoning me. Yoganma replied, why shouldn't she go, mother? Don't you remember that you walked all the way to Dakshineshwar to be with the master? The mother smiled a little and said, oh, you are right, Yoga. This is a beautiful little passage here, and it's surprising that it's the mother, really, in a sense, because this has become unfortunately, it's a daily practice for me when I find myself being judgmental.
I couldn't quite understand that.
Oh, what's that?
About the last few lines that I think if you could mute, the sound is if you could mute us, I couldn't quite hear the last few.
Sure. Let me do that here. Participants, mute all. Okay. So really what's happening here is mother, of course, was just very concerned that Radu was taking off and thinking, oh, well, maybe, I'm not needing that help anymore to stay in the body. Maybe this sickness is going to end in my dropping the body, leaving the body behind. And then Yogan Ma reminds her, when she asks Yogan, what is Radu doing just walking away from me when I'm sick like this, needing her? And she goes chasing after her husband. Well, how can she do that? And Yogan Ma says, well, why shouldn't she do that? You did it. Look how you walked all the way to Dakshineshwar on foot just to see your husband. And so, of course, mother smiles and says, yes, you're right. That is true. But it's a teaching. This everything that we read about these lives of these beautiful people is a great lesson. Because quite often you see the things that you dislike the most in others are the things that you are not successfully overcoming in yourself. Usually, not always, but you quite frequently will find that the reason that somebody's behavior disturbs you is because it's affecting the exact same principle in yourself, right? It's like the easiest way that I talk about this is my pizza line, right? In the kitchen. You're in line for pizza. There's 3 pieces left and you're 4th in line. And so you sit there and the first person takes that piece of pizza and you're a little bit bothered, but there's still 2 more, no big deal. Well, then the second person takes that pizza and that one you're a little bit more inclined to think, oh, look at how selfish that person is. Not even thinking about anybody else in line. But you're not too intense on it because there's still 1 more piece. But then the person in front of you takes that last slice and boy, do they get a barrel load of judgment from you. Look at that, how careless of him. Didn't even think about anybody else in line. How selfish. And you just go to town. And the hilariousness of it is that the very thing that is causing you to name that person as selfish is your own selfishness. You're not going to get that piece of pizza. And you're angry at that person. And so I have found, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, in my life that quite often the things that irritate me in others are things that I myself have done and actively do. And that's the reason that I'm sensitive about them. That's the reason that I'm bothered by them, that I can see them, those faults in others. So Holy Mother, you know, she says that she used to see faults in others, but through ardent prayer, sincere prayer and practice, she got to the point in her life where she said it was impossible for her to have a thought, a mean thought about another person, or a judgmental thought, or to see another person's thoughts, see another person's wrongdoings, their faults, right? And so this is very important for us to understand. And always, if you hear yourself, and you should train yourself to be sensitive to your internal world. That's why we're always talking about going inside and learning to reside in the heart, because from that perspective, you see the mind. From that perspective, you see the body. You know them to be separate from you, and you're familiar with their characteristics and how desires arise from them. And with that watchfulness, you get a great advantage, so that when you see a desire begin to form in the body, a certain feeling or a sensation or a certain thought that you know leads in the wrong direction, if you catch it when it's just a spark, you can snuff it out with just a thought, just a denial. Oh, I'm not the body, mind, and it's done. But if you haven't learned to live in the internal space, and you haven't been observant of what your internal relationship with body is and with mind, what it is, you can't see those sparks until they become full-fledged desires, and sometimes even full-fledged forest fires. And then you're alerted, and then you try and overcome them, and you can't, because you're trying to put out a forest fire with a cup of water, you know. And so this is the importance of interior life, and really finding the self, because the self is where we want to sit, you know, in the chamber of the heart, the shrine of the heart. That's where we want to sit and observe the world of change from there. Because in that silent space, in the shrine of the heart, is where your bliss is. It's where your contentment is. It's where your peace is. And so you want to sit in that space, and from that perspective, in the arms of the mother, is how a bhakti would talk about it. From the arms of the mother, you watch the world. You know, it's one of my earliest memories. I remember my mother had a silk shirt that had all these paisleys on it. And I remember her holding me in her arms in the grocery store one time, and she ran into some man from my dad's office, and he started talking to my mother, and I was in her arms, and she introduced me. And this is so funny that I can remember this, because it must have been 58 and a half years ago. I turned my head into the crook of my mother's arm, you know, like little kids do when they don't want to meet somebody or look at a stranger. I turned my head buried into the crook of my mother's arm. And I remember that feeling of security, you know, when I couldn't see the world, so the world didn't exist to me. And the soft silk of the crook of my mother's arm, I was in the arms of mother, right? And so I was no longer in danger from this strange man. And so this is how we view the world, you know. We go into the crook of mother's arm. We go into the shrine of the heart, where we are in the company of the beloved, in the presence of God. As a means of talking about it. And you sit in that place and observe the world then. Observe the world through the body. Observe the world through the mind. But you're safe. You're in the arms of the divine. And so this is why, or one of the reasons, there's countless reasons, that we go inside, where the Thakur says, turn within, you know, turn away from the world of the senses. Because that will just be a constant source of distraction and confusion. Go inside, find out who you are in your essence, find out what your relationship is to the body, find out what your relationship is to the mind, and learn to be watchful and enjoy. Learn to enjoy the presence of your own divinity, the mark of God that established you as a being. To sit in that space and watch the world unperturbed, undisturbed. Let it bring what it brings. You know that it has nothing to do with you experientially, not just as a proposition. Right. On the 10th of April, Sharadananda received a cable saying that the mother was ill again, and on that very night, he sent Dr. Kanjilal to Kolkata. On the 17th of April, Sharananda brought Dr. Chakravarti and Yoganma to Holy Mother. She slowly recovered under their care. By May of 1918, she had gained some strength, and Sharananda wanted her to go with him to Calcutta. She agreed, but wanted to visit Jairambati for a week to see her relatives and the villagers before going to Calcutta. She sent Brahmachari Bharata, later Swami Ishanananda, to Tajpur to bring Radu to Jairambati. As soon as Radu got down from the palanquin, the mother embraced her, saying, "Come, my child Radu." The mother realized that Radu had become independent. Holy Mother asked Radu to go with her to Calcutta, but Radu declined. The mother accepted her decision. There's a footnote here. It says, Sharananda's diary, the 18th of Vaishak, 1325, May of 1918. Radharani came from Tajpur, decided that Radu will come to Calcutta with her husband in the month of June, and not with Holy Mother at the present. So she does eventually come, but she comes later. So the mother accepted her decision. With tearful eyes, Radu bowed down to Holy Mother. Unperturbed, the mother blessed her and calmly said goodbye. This was the first time that Holy Mother had gone to Calcutta without Radu since Radu's birth. On her way back, the Holy Mother stopped at Kolkata for a day, and as her body was weak, a horse carriage was hired for her while the others went by bullock carts. That's what detachment looks like. That's what ripe attachment looks like, right? So Mother, yes, she's disappointed that Holy Mother, that Radu doesn't want to come, but she's unperturbed, meaning that you can be concerned that she doesn't want to come, or saddened that she doesn't want to come, but you have non-resistance. So it's not a lasting feeling. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm fine. Everything is still fine. Everything is still good. And so this is what happens when we have that interior life going on. It becomes our source of our contentment. It becomes the source of our comfort. It becomes the source of our security and our confidence. And it is what identifies us, not the circumstances and conditions of life. We don't take refuge in being rich. We don't take refuge in being handsome or beautiful. We don't take refuge in being smart, of having a great job, or always being together. Any of these attributes, these circumstances and conditions of the outside world, the ego would have us live in that space because that's where ego exists. It's always based on the external world. And so the importance of going inward and finding your identity in your nature and not in the conditions and circumstances of life is the only way that you can make it through this world, safely in one way, but with any modicum of sanity. It's the only place where you can go and find a peace that passes understanding. It's the place that you want to have found by the time it's time to give up the body. Because if you can find that space within yourself, you can establish yourself in that space, then you can sit there calmly and watch the body shut down and know yourself to be unaffected, because you have intimately learned your relationship with the body, and you know exactly what belongs to body in your internal world. And you'll watch it dismantle itself, but you'll also see that it's a safe distance from you, right? So you don't suffer your death. And the same thing with mind. If you get one of these sicknesses, I, a few years ago, had that bout of, what did they call that? Viral meningitis. God only knows where I got that from. But I had it. Unfortunately, they cleared it up pretty quickly. But it was this strange thing where the mind would just stop working. Like the thing that took me to the emergency room is that the day that I first realized something was wrong, I was talking to one of the devotees in the monastery, and he was talking to me about Home Depot, needing to go to Home Depot to pick something up. And all of a sudden, for about 5 or 8 seconds, I could hear him talking to me. I knew that they were words, but the words would not collapse into meaning. They just stayed sounds. And I got very concerned, and I just noted that. But a little while later, I was sitting in a class and I was reading along in the book to what Maharaj was reading. And the same thing happened. Suddenly the words, I could read them and I could see them, but they weren't giving me information. They weren't collapsing into meaning for me. And I got very distressed by that. And that's when I went down to the emergency room and was describing these things to them. And they immediately had me quarantined, because apparently that's a very dangerous disease to have. So they quarantined me, and I stayed there for a couple of days while they pumped me full of antivirals and whatnot. But my experience of that was very, very interesting, because on this side of me, on the me side, behind the mind, I wasn't sick. I could think, I could talk. I mean, I could recognize that I couldn't read those words. I could recognize that this man was talking to me and I couldn't understand the words. So I wasn't broken, but the mind, my interface to the world, was broken, right? And I couldn't be communicated with. I couldn't have talked back to them in that circumstance. And it really showed me that, these things like dementia and these disabilities of mind that happen to us, it's really changed my perspective, because I used to talk to the person thinking that they were at that level, that they were a child, or that they were, not functioning. But now I talk to them as I always talk to them, because I suspect that they are still whole, that they are still perfectly functional and fine, but on the other side of a broken mind. So that their interface that they would normally employ to talk to me and to express themselves with me and to navigate the world, that interface is broken. But they, the person, is still fully themselves. I just can't reach them because that interface is broken, right? And that's how we know that we're not the self. That we're not the mind, we're not the body. Little experiences like that we sometimes get in life. And so to really know this and to hold your identity there, that's the only place it's safe. And that way, when the mind does go, that's not, it's an inconvenience, at least, but it's not the end for you, because your identity is not tied up with it. And the same thing with mind. And as you know, as we've taken this journey with Lalita, with her stroke, she has grown to know that herself over the 10 years that she's been laying there in bed. She came after the first year. I've told that story when it happened, if you remember, that she came to a peace. She knew that she was still fully herself, but the body was broken. But she began to do what she could to express herself with a broken body. Instead of limiting herself and bemoaning what she had lost, she started experimenting with ways of using her broken body to still be fully who she was. And so this is why we practice, amongst the many, many, many reasons that we do. So Holy Mother, unperturbed, blessed her and calmly said goodbye. This was the first time Holy Mother had gone to Calcutta without Radu since Radu's birth. On her way back, the mother stopped at Kolkata for a day. And her body was weak. As her body was weak, a horse carriage was hired for her while the others went by bullock carts. Salala writes, one day in Udbodhan, Holy Mother said, look, when Radu left me, cutting my attachment to her, I thought perhaps this time my body would not last. But I see still there is more of the Master's work to be done. Even Yoganma, one of the mother's intimate companions, once felt some doubt about the mother and said to herself, Sri Ramakrishna was the embodiment of renunciation, and the mother is engrossed in the world, preoccupied day and night with the thought of her brothers, sisters-in-law, and nephews and nieces. I can't understand this. One day, soon after, she was seated on the bank of the Ganges meditating, when Sri Ramakrishna appeared in a vision before her. The Master said, do you see what is being carried by the water of the Ganges? Yoganma saw the corpse of a newborn baby smeared with blood in the placenta still attached to it. She also saw that thousands of people were offering worship to the holy water of the river. The master said to Yogin Ma, "Can anything make the Ganges impure? Regard Holy Mother in the same way. Never have any doubt about her. Remember, she is not different from this," meaning himself. Returning from the Ganges, Yogin Ma bowed down to the Holy Mother and said, "Mother, please forgive me." "Why, Yogin? What happened?" the mother inquired. Yogin Ma then narrated the incident and said, "I harbored doubt about you, but today the master has revealed the truth to me." Smiling, the mother said, "Don't feel bad. Doubt is natural for the human mind. Doubt will arise, and again faith will come. One develops faith in this way. Thus, finally, one attains firm faith." Gosh, another gem right there. You don't have to beat yourself up for your bad days. You don't have to beat yourself up for your lapses in courage, or your lapses in faithfulness, or your lapses in trusting the divine. Just don't give up. That's the thing. Just go forward. These things happen to strengthen you, because when your faith lapses, you go searching for the reason. Right? You go in there and you take a look at things. And that's how we grow. That's how we learn to transcend. And that's how we make it our own. Right? That's how we take our practice. In a sense, we take our practice away from our guru. At first our practice belongs to our guru. We're doing what we're told. Just sticking with it. But after time, it begins to manifest truth within ourselves. And we begin to experience that truth in a deeper way. And we become to know it to be truth. And so this happens, by that exercising that muscle, by having our ups and downs, our challenges in life, having things happen that really take us to the wall, losing our best friends, or failing an important exam, things that take the wind out of us for a moment. All those things can be helpful. And so develop that perspective on your life. When difficult things come, put them in your hands and look at them and say, how do I spin gold out of this? Take a bad day and said, okay, it's a bad day. Boy, I've lost this, that happened, and this is falling apart. Take that day and put it in your hands and look at it and say, how do I turn this into gold? How do I become better because of this? How do I become stronger? In what way can I be improved? How can I use this to serve, or to care, or to build my empathy? So use your life to grow. That's the point of our life, is our realization. The point of our life is knowing God, finally knowing love. This is why we live. And so don't use your life for all of these temporary things, for these things that are fleeting. Use your life and view your life as a means to touching the divine, of a means of reaching your highest ideal. And don't be perturbed by the little stuff. And everything is little stuff. Isn't there a book called that or something? Don't sweat the little stuff, and everything is little stuff. I think that's the name of a book. Probably a Buddhist book. But that notion. So take that view of life. Don't be defeated. Be strengthened. Just because you couldn't lift that weight today, that doesn't mean quit. Doesn't mean get discouraged and define yourself as a weak person and leave it at that. It means come back and try again. And come back and try again. On the 4th, 5th, or maybe even the 9th or 10th time, you'll lift the weight. Right? You will be successful. And so know that. You will come home. You will know the truth. You will see yourself. You will know your highest ideal. And you will see God. This is promised by all of the incarnations. But certainly Ramakrishna and Holy Mother have taught us this. So we see Mother just casually living this way, because she knows, she sees, and she understands. So we'll stop there for tonight.